Every morning, two children wake up in the same world, but in two entirely different realities. One wakes to traffic, barking dogs, vendors shouting, a thin wall, a worn bed, a second-hand uniform. The other, to silence, to a smartly curtained bedroom, to violin lessons, tutors, and lavender sheets. Both dream. Only one is expected to reach those dreams. This is not about envy. It's about reality. Because in our world, hard work doesn't always lead to success. And the most important part of your future is still your past. The rich have more than money. They have time, access, protection. The poor have less than money. They have uncertainty, risk, exhaustion. And what if I told you? The system isn't broken, it's working, exactly how it was designed to. We're breaking this down. Not just the dollars, the invisible weight, the generational echo. By the end, you won't just understand the difference. You'll feel it. Imagine life as a race. But not everyone starts at the same line. The rich inherit momentum. The poor inherit obstacles. Wealth buys time, options, second chances. Poverty adds weight, pressure, urgency. A kid with wealth falls and gets back up. A kid in poverty falls and loses everything. It starts before birth. In prenatal care, safe environments, access to food, rest, books. And it compounds. In school, in healthcare, in opportunity. We tell kids to pull up their bootstraps. But what if they don't even have boots?
Never before in American history has it been so easy to become homeless in this city. What's happening to New York?
But it's real easy to be homeless these days.
I just couldn't do it. And now they leave you out here and you're stuck and you can't get up and they won't get you up. And as soon as you sit down on the ground, they look at you different.
New York was once likened to the heart of America, where the lights of Times Square never go out, where the Statue of Liberty still holds high the torch guiding American dreams towards opportunities and prosperity. But if you veer off the main avenue, delving deep into the alleys behind Hudson Yards or W39th Street, you will see a completely different New York, a city ravaged by the homelessness crisis, no different from a hell on earth amidst the modern metropolis.
According to the World Atlas website, America is listed among the 10 wealthiest countries in the world. But people are still faced with homelessness because they are so poor that they cannot afford a place to live.
Las Vegas, a city known for its dazzling neon glow, high-stakes casinos, and the non-stop buzz of entertainment. But beneath all the glitz and glamour lies a side of Vegas most tourists never see.
In richer homes, toys teach. In poorer homes, toys are often a luxury. Enrichment begins early, and so does the gap. Now, picture that same child starting kindergarten. One shows up rested, fed, and curious. The other arrives tired, maybe anxious, maybe hungry. One walks into a school with a teacher-student ratio of 1:12. The other, 1:35, if they're lucky. One classroom has books, digital whiteboards, and a reading corner. The other has flickering lights, hand-me-down textbooks, and overworked staff. This isn't about individual effort. It's about the environment that shapes your ability to even begin. Wealth buys stability. No eviction notices. No power outages. No skipped meals. Wealth buys access. Private schools, music lessons, summer camps, and tutors, not just for catching up, but for getting ahead. Wealth buys time. A stay-at-home parent. A paid babysitter. A flexible job that allows dinner together and homework help. Wealth buys options. You don't have to say yes to the first job. You don't have to take the cheapest route. You can try. You can fail. You can recover.
You know, I almost hope he doesn't wake up. Yeah. That was some rescue, Droopy. You get the job.
Statistically, a child from a low-income household is already behind in reading and math. Not because they're less intelligent, but because no one invested in their start line. Every year, that gap widens, and society starts labeling them at risk, underperforming, behind, as if it's their fault the system never caught them. We keep asking why kids from poor neighborhoods don't aspire higher. But here's a better question. What have we shown them is possible? If a wealthy student gets in trouble, maybe caught with weed or skips too many classes, they get a warning, a lawyer, a rehab referral. If a poor student does the same, they get a record. They get a label that follows them for life. Same action, different result. Not because of character, because of class.
Hey, this might work.
Know what else I'm gonna do?
What's your name?
Chris.
One child has mentors, models, networks, and safety nets. The other has dreams, hustle, fear, and no cushion. We expect them both to reach the same place? That's not meritocracy. That's magical thinking. We turn them into inspiration porn. We put them on TV. We say, if they can do it, anyone can. But that's the point. They did it despite the system, not because of it. One rose. 1,000 others never got the chance. We say life is a race, but we ignore the terrain. Some start on paved roads, others start in potholes, and still, we judge them as if they're running the same route. Until we fix the start line, until we level the track, until we stop punishing kids for the circumstances of their birth. This race will never be fair. And that's not just a loss for the poor. It's a loss for all of us. The rich are taught to invest, to negotiate, to leverage. The poor are taught to survive, to obey, to avoid risk. Abundance versus scarcity. One sees money as a tool. The other sees it as a threat. It's not about motivation. It's about exposure. If you never see the map, how do you know where to go? It's not just what you have. It's what the world tells you to expect. We talk a lot about mindset, as if it's something you just choose. But mindset is shaped by repetition, by survival, by silence. It's built, not chosen. And wealth, it builds a different mind. In wealthy homes, the mindset is, there's enough. Try it, see what happens. If you fail, we'll catch you. This creates confidence, a sense of control, the idea that the world is moldable, that it will make room for you. In poor homes, the mindset is, be careful, don't risk it. We can't afford a mistake. This creates caution, awareness, a sense that the world is rigid, that it doesn't bend, and it definitely won't catch you if you fall. Wealthy families casually talk about investment portfolios, travel planning, tax strategies, and real estate. They involve their kids in financial decisions. Should we refinance? How's the market trending? Let's check the rental yield. This becomes language. It becomes instinct. By age 16, some kids already speak fluent economics. Poor families talk about how to stretch gas for the week, whether they'll get evicted, if mom's boss will cut her hours again. Those conversations also teach, but they teach fear, urgency, that the future is something to survive, not shape.
Bill Wong. Bill Wong appears to be one of the latest billionaires to lose everything in March 2021 when his over-leveraged market bets crashed. Wong's private investment firm, Archegos Capital Management, has used loans to bet on the stock values of various media companies, including Viacom, CBS, and Discovery Incorporated, which had inflated their perceived worth 2021 before falling recently. When the brokers made margin calls, Archegos defaulted and was forced to liquidate several of its positions approaching $30 billion in value, causing the stock price to fall even more. Brokers such as Credit Suisse and Nomura are reporting bracing for billions of dollars in losses due to Wong's erratic decisions. It has been impossible to determine the magnitude of the losses experienced.
How does it feel to be a millionaire, a billionaire, or a trillionaire? And on the other hand, how does it feel to be flat broke, with no roof over your head and with no food to eat? Confidence doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from having your ideas taken seriously, seeing people like you in positions of power, failing without shame.
The young man was 17 years old. Local police and a nurse from the clinic confirmed the death.
We call the rich visionary for being bold. We call the poor reckless for taking risks. Parents in poverty teach survival because that's what they know. They're doing the best they can with what they have. And often, they're heroic. But the point isn't to blame anyone. The point is to see that mindset is infrastructure. If we want equal outcomes, we need to give every child, not just the rich, a foundation of safety, support, belief, exposure, permission to fail, encouragement to build. This is where the divide begins. Not in the bank, but in the mind. Because before a child decides what they'll do, they first decide what they can do. And if all they've seen is struggle, then even their wildest dreams might still live in chains. Education is supposed to be the great equalizer, but in practice, it's often the great divider. Wealthy schools offer coding, art, mentorship. Poor schools struggle with supplies. And outside class, wealthy kids network without realizing. Poor kids, they babysit, they work. It's not about intelligence, it's about access. Where you go to school still largely depends on where you live, and where you live depends on how much you make. That means children in wealthy neighborhoods attend schools that feel like private institutions. Low student-to-teacher ratios, up-to-date facilities, full libraries and art studios, expansive extracurriculars, teachers who have the time and support to teach creatively. In low-income neighborhoods, schools are often underfunded, overcrowded, and overwhelmed. The lights flicker. The textbooks are outdated. The computers barely run. The gym is closed for repairs that never come. Teachers rotate in and out, many burned out from doing too much with too little. Here we're talking about the rich and poor and the inequalities. While in the US alone, billions and trillions of dollars are unaccounted for because of fraud.
Because of the massive amount of money that exists in the federal government and in the state government.
There's no official tally of how much COVID relief money was lost to fraud, but Miller estimates it's more than $1 trillion. That's $1 in $5.
Wealthy kids meet CEOs at dinner parties. They hear stories of startup success and stock splits. They're told, this could be you someday. Poor kids might never leave their neighborhood, might never see anyone make it, unless it's a YouTuber or athlete. It's not that they aren't smart. It's that they aren't shown the map. If all you've seen are jobs that pay minimum wage, you think that's the ceiling. If all you've heard is you can't afford that, you stop asking. And if college isn't something anyone in your family talks about, you may not even know what questions to ask, let alone where to begin. Let's be clear. The gap in achievement isn't a gap in intelligence. It's a gap in investment, in belief, in systems. Imagine two students with the same test scores. One gets extra help, encouragement, and a tailored learning plan. The other, sent home because there's no support staff that day. Which one do you think ends up believing in themselves more?
Erdogan. I wonder what the Turkish president got the emir in return. When Busta Rhymes rapped about Arab money, he was probably talking about people like Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani and his $500 million Al Lusail yacht. Look, we like Busta Rhymes, but Busta Bus could barely afford to fill the tank with his $20 million net worth, as this 400-foot, 800-ton sea behemoth is the epitome of opulence. It's only the 33rd largest private vessel in the world.
Poor schools produce fewer college-ready students. Those students get fewer high-paying jobs. Their kids return to the same underfunded schools. And around it goes. We call it a pipeline, but it's really a loop that only breaks with deliberate disruption. Imagine if every child visited a college campus in 4th grade. If every middle schooler got matched with a mentor in their dream field. If every student had art, music, and drama, regardless of their zip code. If every parent-teacher meeting didn't come with language barriers or judgment. If schools didn't just prepare students for tests, but for life. We'd see ambition skyrocket. We'd see confidence bloom. We'd see neighborhoods change not from the outside in, but from the inside out. And that's the injustice. The world is filled with brilliant kids who will never get the chance to show what they're capable of. Not because they aren't talented, but because no one ever opened the door. We don't just need better schools. We need better systems. Systems that don't hoard access, that don't ration opportunity, that don't pretend equality while maintaining inequity. Because talent is everywhere. But opportunity? That's still reserved. To the rich, risk is a game. To the poor, risk is a cliff. Failure is just a lesson, when your fall is cushioned. For the poor, risk isn't bold. It's dangerous. They're not scared. They're calculated, because they have to be. We admire people who take risks. We glorify them, call them pioneers, innovators, legends. But risk doesn't mean the same thing to everyone, because what happens when you fall depends entirely on what's waiting to catch you. When a rich person starts a company and it fails, they often get another shot. They learn from it. They use their networks. They pivot, relaunch, rebrand. They don't lose their home. They don't default on rent. They don't skip dinner. Failure becomes an education. Now, picture someone poor risking everything on a dream. A food truck, a retail stall, an online store built with their last few $100s. If it fails, they might go broke. They might lose housing. They might not recover for years, if ever. Same effort, same ambition, but one has a parachute. The other is leaping off a cliff with no gear. We throw around the phrase risk tolerance like it's a personality trait. It's not. It's a privilege. It's easy to be bold when your basic needs are secure. If you're rich, you take a sabbatical to find yourself. You move to Bali to start a remote career. You quit your job because the culture was toxic. If you're poor, you miss one paycheck and you're evicted. You skip the dentist because you need to eat. You stay at an abusive job because there are no other options. This isn't a matter of mindset. It's math. Think of risk as a casino game. The rich walk in with a stack of chips. They play boldly. If they lose a hand, it stings, but it's not over. The poor walk in with a single chip. If they lose it, game over. No rebuys. No resets. So they play cautiously. They hedge. They protect what little they have. And then we judge them for being too safe. But they're not risk-averse. They're risk-aware. They don't fear failure because they're cowards. They fear failure because they've already lived it.
The area is home to thousands of urban slum dwellers. The bulk are the working poor. Others include the mentally ill and drug addicts.
I think you cannot stand inside because you're too tall.
As well as a mother and young child. Living not in a cage, but what the government euphemistically calls a cubicle home. A space not much bigger than a king-size bed.
Did she go to school?
Yeah. Yes.
In America, filing for bankruptcy is a second chance for the wealthy. For the poor, it's a lifetime stain. For them, taking out a loan might mean predatory interest rates, debt traps, or harassment from collectors. In some countries, failure leads to jail time. In others, it leads to therapy. What we call grit in poor communities isn't a compliment. It's code for you're on your own. There are millions of people with ideas that could change the world. They just don't have the safety to try. We lose inventors. We lose artists. We lose small businesses. We lose solutions because we built a system that only lets the privileged fail safely. And without room to fail, there is no room to grow. Rich students can study what they love. They major in art, philosophy, literature. Poor students are told to be practical. Pick a major that makes money. Don't waste time on passion, because debt is real. When the poor don't take risks, they're called lazy. When the rich do, they're called visionary. We don't see that the poor are already taking risks every day. Risking exhaustion to work 2 jobs. Risking illness to skip a doctor's visit. Risking arrest for unpaid fines. Every day is a gamble. Every decision a roll of the dice. So no, risk isn't foreign to them. But voluntary risk? That's rare. Because when survival is the goal, there's no margin for error.
Some accounts, the balances run to hundreds of millions of dollars. In such circumstances, I guess it's understandable that the president would equip himself with a mansion like this just outside Washington. But it's a silly president who forgets to lock the front gate. Hello. Good morning. Is President Obiang in, please?
Poverty is exhausting, and exhaustion is a barrier. Poor families can't afford therapy. They treat trauma with silence. They skip doctor visits. They work through illness. They carry stress like oxygen. Health isn't just physical. It's generational. And without it, how do you fight your way out? You can't chase opportunity if you can't get out of bed. You can't plan for the future if your body's breaking down today. Health is the foundation under everything. And like everything else in this story, it's not distributed equally. Wealthy people live longer. They get better health care. They have access to nutritious food, clean air, safe exercise spaces, and timely checkups.
The richest kings in the world with an estimated net worth of $5 billion, His Majesty gets to live in the royal palace in Rabat. Its entrance is fit for a giant. And the king's personal mosque is an ideal place for moments of peace, as well as to take in top-shelf Moroccan architecture. Its classy mausoleum houses a marble casket that holds King Mohammed V, who died in 1961. Even the Pope was pretty impressed. And you've seen where that guy lives. Forbes reported that the palace costs $960,000 a day to operate, including personal expenses, clothing, and automotive repair costs.
They don't wait until it's an emergency. They prevent. They monitor. They optimize. The poor, they delay care. They walk it off. They wait until pain becomes unbearable. And by then, it's often too late. Because time is short, money is shorter, and the hospital is the last resort, not the first stop. Even in countries with public healthcare systems, access isn't equal. Wealthy patients get private rooms. They know how to ask the right questions. They have advocates who can fight for second opinions. Poor patients face long wait lists, crowded clinics, understaffed hospitals, language barriers, judgmental stares. They're rushed. They're misdiagnosed. They're overlooked. And if they push back, they're labeled difficult. So they stay quiet and hope for the best. Chronic stress isn't just uncomfortable. It's deadly. It hardens arteries, raises blood pressure, disrupts sleep, triggers inflammation, accelerates aging. Living paycheck to paycheck changes your brain. It shrinks your memory. It kills creativity. It rewires your ability to focus. We call it executive dysfunction. But often, it's just poverty expressed through cortisol. And over time, it steals years from your life.
Daddy, can you scratch my booty? Please?
When a wealthy person struggles with addiction, they go to rehab. They get counseling. They get books written about their comeback story. When a poor person struggles, they're criminalized, judged, ignored. One is seen as someone who lost their way. The other, just another addict. But the pain is the same. The wound is the same. The need for healing is the same. What's different is how the system responds. We shame people for being sick. We shame them for being tired. We shame them for not having energy to work harder. But who are we to judge someone's hustle when they've been carrying the invisible weight of stress, illness, and exhaustion for years? We praise resilience. But resilience is just survival in the absence of support, and it shouldn't be a requirement for a decent life. Imagine a world where healthcare is free and accessible. We'd see better students, better workers, better parents, better communities. Because when people feel better, they do better. It's not complicated. Health isn't a reward for good behavior. It's a human right. But right now, it's a luxury, one the rich don't even notice they have, and the poor lose their lives trying to reach. We talk about success like it's all about drive. But first, you need to be well enough to walk. And that's where the divide begins.
Put Yalla Yacht, worth a hefty $80 million. And not just one, but two Gulfstream G650 private jets, worth a hefty $70 million apiece. That's more like it. Oh, how nice it would be to be able to sit on a couch while flying to New York City. Nothing like it, really. If you factor in all the wealth of all 15,000 members of Saudi's royal family, you're looking at 1.4 trillion.
We love the Garage to Glory story. But most success isn't just effort. It's head starts. Meritocracy. A myth. The system doesn't reward effort equally. It rewards access. We blame the poor. We ignore the scaffolding behind the rich. It's not about fewer dreamers. It's about fewer obstacles. In this chart, here is the net worth of Jeff Bezos from 1999 to 2018 as estimated by Forbes magazine. His net worth is calculated in billions every year. We love the story, the one where the underdog rises, where effort equals reward, where hard work is everything. It's in our movies, our classrooms, our politics. It's called meritocracy, and it sounds fair, until you ask, what if the system rewards effort only after access? We pretend the gate is open, but we don't talk about application fees, culture fee, alumni networks, internships that require unpaid labor, interview clothes and laptop access. We say, anyone can apply, but not everyone has a resume that gets read, or a zip code that doesn't disqualify them subconsciously. We say, everyone gets a chance, but not everyone is told when to show up or where the door is. It's not just money, it's time, it's second chances, it's the ability to fail and try again without total collapse. Rich kids can take unpaid internships, study abroad, experiment with careers. Poor kids often need to contribute by 16. Take the first job that pays. Never pause, never pivot, never breathe. And then we measure them by the same yardstick? We're not measuring merit. We're measuring mobility. We've seen janitors with encyclopedic knowledge, mothers who run their households like CEOs, teenagers who tutor themselves through night school after working shifts. They're not short on work. They're short on leverage. And leverage, the thing that turns effort into outcome, is almost always bought by privilege. Meritocracy tells rich people, you earned all of this. So they feel proud, sometimes entitled, regardless of how many rungs were already under them. It tells poor people, if you didn't succeed, it's your fault. So they feel ashamed, hopeless, blamed. It creates arrogance at the top, guilt in the middle, and despair at the bottom, all while obscuring the real villain, the structure. Rich kids with connections get internships. That becomes experience, which becomes credentials, which leads to better jobs, better credit, better health, better neighborhoods. And when they succeed, we point to them as proof the system works. Poor kids get jobs out of necessity, miss out on extras, struggle with instability, take risks that backfire. And when they fail, we point to them as proof they didn't try hard enough. This isn't merit. It's mirroring the system. When you're told hard work pays off, and you work hard, but it doesn't pay off, you start to question yourself. Am I just not smart enough? Did I do something wrong? Should I stop trying? This self-doubt isn't just psychological. It's economic manipulation. The system shifts responsibility onto the individual, so no one questions the rules of the game. Studies show, a child born into the bottom 20% of income has only a 7.5% chance of making it to the top. Meanwhile, children from wealthy families often stay wealthy, regardless of performance. Upward mobility has actually decreased in many countries over the last 50 years. So the American dream? It's not gone. It's just gated. Equal access to quality education, safety nets that allow for experimentation, hiring that values diverse paths, not just elite resumes, loan systems that don't bury people for trying. Meritocracy isn't a bad idea. It's just not what we have right now. We don't need to abandon it. We need to earn it. Hard work is beautiful. Discipline is noble. Dreams are worth pursuing. But let's stop pretending that effort alone is the great equalizer. Because until we dismantle the barriers, until we stop grading effort on a curve of privilege, we're not rewarding merit. We're just rewarding access and calling it fair. Making it in life is hard, and staying true to the game is harder. You feel like a stranger to your past and an outsider to your future. You carry survivor's guilt, the pressure to prove, the fear of failing not just yourself, but everyone you left behind. Success doesn't erase struggle. It reshapes it.
Number 7. Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff will be remembered as one of the most infamous con artists in history. Madoff led the world's largest Ponzi scheme, defrauding investors out of an estimated $17.5 billion. Trustees are said to have recovered $13 billion of the stolen funds. However, Madoff is currently serving a federal prison sentence of 150 years. He requested a compassionate release in early 2020, alleging he had fewer than 2 years to live due to kidney failure. His request was turned down, making him pay for his crimes and spend the rest of his life behind bars. We have gone through the dumb and dumber.
We love a good rags to riches story. The scholarship kid, the self-made millionaire, the one who got out. We turn them into legends. We say, if they did it, so can you. We use them as proof the system isn't broken. But what we never talk about, what we never show, is the cost of that climb. Because escaping poverty doesn't just demand grit. It demands sacrifice. And sometimes, that sacrifice is your peace, your relationships, your identity. When you grow up in poverty, your community becomes your compass, your slang, your values, your humor, your rules for survival. But when you make it out, you enter rooms where none of that fits. Suddenly, your voice is too loud. Your food smells funny. Your story is inspiring, but never relatable. And you learn quickly. You don't just leave your zip code. You leave parts of yourself behind. To climb, you learn to speak the language of wealth. You change how you dress. You rewrite your resume. You soften your accent. You nod when jokes go over your head. You Google terms after meetings you pretended to understand. If you're the first in your family to succeed, you carry the pride of generations. You also carry the weight. You're expected to give back, to never complain, to be the example, to hold it all together. And when you struggle, there's no one to ask, no mentor who gets it, no guidebook for this path. You're told you're lucky, but luck is lonely. And success becomes a burden you don't dare set down. You see friends who didn't make it. You visit home and feel out of place. You can't relate to your new peers. You can't relate to your old ones either. And the unspoken question hangs heavy. Why me? You wonder if you deserve it. You wonder if you left people behind. You wonder if this version of you still fits in anywhere. Success doesn't erase the past. Sometimes it makes it sharper.
Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum has pretty fat pockets himself. One of his biggest expenses, $500 million to his ex-wife Princess Haya of Jordan. Probably spent too much time out falcon hunting. Hope it was worth it. Sheikh Mohammed rolls around in a $250,000 white G63 AMG Mercedes #1, meaning it was the first one off the production line. But that's worth pennies compared to his golden car collection. He's got a $5.8 million gold Porsche 918 Spyder, a gold $7.5 million Lamborghini Aventador, a $9.6 million gold Mercedes AMG 63 truck, a $3.2 million gold Land Rover Vogue, a $1.4 gold Godzilla Nissan GTR, which looks like it belongs on a serving tray, a $3.2 million gold Ferrari 360 Modena, an $8.2 million gold Rolls-Royce Phantom drop-head coupe, and the crown jewel, a customized 24-karat Rolls-Royce that looks like it belongs in a Batman film, which costs a whopping $14.2 million. I wonder if racing purist Ettore Bugatti would be spinning in his grave if he saw Sheikh Mohammed's $9.2 million gold Bugatti Veyron.
People assume once you make it, the hard part is over. But often, it's just beginning. You work twice as hard to prove you belong. Hide your stress because you should be grateful. Skip therapy because others have it worse. Avoid rest because hustle is all you know. And when burnout hits, no one sees it. No one expects it. No one allows it. You're the strong one, the example, the symbol of hope. So you keep going until your body makes you stop. You try to find new communities. People who get the grind. People who get the guilt. People who get the beauty and the ache of being first. And sometimes you find them. Sometimes you build them. But often, you walk alone. Because there's no box for people like you. Too successful to be pitted. Too scarred to be celebrated. Too mated to be heard when you say, "I'm not okay."
Police in the Papua New Guinea capital of Port Moresby staged a protest over a sudden 50% cut to their wages. Citizens from the city and the surrounding countryside reacted by going fucking mental, torching the town and looting everything that wasn't nailed down. Prime Minister James Marape declared a state of emergency and reversed the public sector pay cut, blaming it on a computer glitch. My pager would never do anything like that. Mwah. At points, it did look like something was happening, but things quieted down after these non-events of historical insignificance ceased to stop not happening.
We cheer for those who escape poverty, but we never ask what they had to leave behind. We love their resilience, but we don't ease their burden. We tell them to shine, but we never asked if the spotlight felt like a searchlight. Breaking the cycle doesn't just build wealth, it builds walls. And the climb out isn't just vertical. It's emotional. It's cultural. It's lonely. So the next time you praise someone who got out, don't just admire the view they reached. Ask what it cost them to get there. And if you really want to honor their journey, make the path less brutal for the ones still climbing. The rich aren't all evil. The poor aren't all lazy. We're more alike than we think. We're all just playing different games. The game needs to change. Empathy isn't weakness. It's infrastructure.
The biggest investors in BlackRock are Vanguard and State Street. And the biggest investors in Vanguard are BlackRock and State Street. And the biggest investors in State Street are, you guessed it, BlackRock and Vanguard.
Asset managers are the shareholders of asset managers. And this is true for all financial firms, and not only, in fact, for stock market listed firms, but private equity firms buying up private insurers.
So the financial sector effectively owns itself. The biggest companies that they own them back, creating this loop that sucks money in and never seems to spit it back out. They play all sides of the game because at a certain point, you can't lose when you play against yourself. So going back to our original questions, does BlackRock own everything? No. But do they control everything? Kinda.
We need wealth reform, universal basic needs, education access, mental health normalization, respect for all work. Change isn't charity. It's justice. If effort is to matter, then the starting line must be fair.
The ECB and other central banks flooding the world with cheap money isn't a cure. It's just pain relief, and in the long run, it has serious side effects. The entire setup is a system that keeps saving itself temporarily, but at some point it will inevitably fall apart. Until then, it exacerbates the enormous injustice that already exists. Those who have benefit. A handful of super-rich individuals own as much as the poorer half of the world's population combined. This flood of money is increasing the gap between rich and poor even further.
Rich, poor, the problem doesn't matter. You can be the solution. You don't need guilt. You need responsibility. Because we rise together, or not at all. What story will you help write? Thanks so much for watching way to the end. It means a lot to us. My name is Derek, this is Zenonscope, and I'll see you in the next one.